Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the first official PREPTOBER live stream of 2022. I can't believe that it's been a year since last time we did this, but here we are. Some old friends have left us to pursue full-time writing careers. Shout out to our colleagues, SD Howard, responsible for building the format in which we are streaming right now, and Vincent Cassiani, our video editor and author coach. We miss you both, but we are so proud of your success. And not to worry, we have some new friends joining us, some new faces you will be seeing along the way for the next 3 months, I want to say. And in case this is your first time here, let's reintroduce ourselves. It is my honor to lead the stream alongside Kyra Dawkins, an award-winning author of speculative fiction, author of The We and the Day, and of course, our head of community at Manuscripts. Then we have Mackenzie Finkley, also an award-winning author of Beyond the Halls and soon to be published Artifact Hunter. Is that right, Mackenzie? Right.
Yes.
She's our product development specialist. And then, of course, we have Emily Vanderbend, queen of book boxes and author of Crimson Time and Fractured Past, currently working on her third book in the series, correct?
Correct.
And, of course, our social media manager. And then we have yours truly. I wear many hats around here, but let's just call me the author of I'm Cecilia and Fiction Projects Coordinator for now. And of course, we have Riley War, our literary specialist and instructor. She will also be joining us in the future. But for tonight, we'll have to do without her electrifying presence. Now, however, let's get down to business. We do have a major announcement for you prepared. If you follow our, everybody is so excited. If you follow our social media, or you're already a part of our community, you might have seen the announcement already. But now, for all to see, and with great pride, Manuscripts is an official sponsor for National Novel Writing Month this fall. We have joined the lineup of industry giants such as Scrivener and Ingram Spark to bring fiction authors the publishing experience they really deserve. And, well, what does that mean exactly? The fact that we are sponsoring NaNoWriMo this year. We are on the hunt for the young, the broke, and the platformless authors who write with NaNoWriMo maybe for the first time this year or have been writing with NaNoWriMo for some time now and they just haven't found the right publisher to fit their genre. New Degree Press has published over 1,500 authors since 2017, and many of those authors, like Alison Hernandez, Vincent Cassiani, Haley Newland, and the entire lineup here, frankly, are now recognized in the industry by their peers and fans alike. However, since then, the volume of authors has increased significantly, and one size does not fit all. And that's why we've expanded. And now the corporation called Manuscripts, still owned by your favorite Professor Eric Kester and run by head of publishing Brian Bees, is housing imprints to accommodate the large scope of needs, genre expectations, and genre expectations that the publishing industry requires these days. In terms of fiction, I think it's not an exaggeration to say that there is no organization more famous or more effective at serving the underheard, often marginalized voices of authors than NaNoWriMo. And we are of the opinion that sponsoring NaNoWriMo this year and helping these authors finish their novels is a mutually beneficial social good endeavor. For these purposes, we have created a sister imprint of New Degree Press focused purely on fiction called Manuscripts Press. And for first time novelists or folks who are not well acquainted with the industry terms, which totally fair, we weren't either at the beginning of this journey, an imprint of a publisher is essentially a trade name under which that particular publisher publishes a work. A single publishing company may have multiple imprints, often using the different names as brands to market works to various demographic consumer segments. And in Manuscripts Press case, that demographic is fiction. So now that we have gotten the infomercial out of our way, the plan for tonight, as promised, Lucia Matuonto is here to talk to you about why you should consider becoming an author, an indie author to be specific. And after that, we will do 2 10-minute writing sprints to get you in the mood. This is Preptober, after all, merely a foreplay to the actual NaNoWriMo goodies in November. So without further ado, please welcome the international bestselling author of Zoe the Crab and the host of the Relatable podcast with over 850,000 downloads. Lucia Matuonto is here. Hello, lady. How have you been? I haven't seen you in a year, and it's a disgrace, honestly.
Thank you very much for inviting me today. I'm doing great. I'm in Spain, and yes, everything is fine. I'm super excited to talking with you today. So that's fantastic to be here.
Listen, I'm just so happy to see you. I miss you, honestly. Just to give you guys a bit of my history, like a history rundown with this woman. She put my book on the map. She interviewed me on her podcast. The sales and recognition in the press skyrocketed, and it's all been one amazing fever dream from there. We have been featured together in Washington Mail, Heart of Hollywood magazine. Is there anything that you can do, Lucia? Is my question. Like, what is your weakness? Because I don't know about any weaknesses, but I may be wrong.
Look, I feel as if I can do anything. My weakness is that I have some ADHD symptoms. So sometimes I forget things. I don't know where I started, where are the things and how can I finish this because I just started doing another thing. It's just, this is my weakness.
Oh my God.
Since I started like writing professionally, I decided that I had to be more organized and organize my thoughts. So this is my weakness, kind of disorganized, but in a good way.
Right. Oh, absolutely. I feel like many of us can relate to that. Being disorganized and being chaotic is like a part of being an independent author, almost like it's very on brand. Well, first of all, I would be remiss if I didn't thank you for inviting me to be a part of the anthology Relatable Voices. And this is a shameless plug, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, absolutely. But please ignore this. But I have to mention this little detail, which brought a smile to my face. So, like, on the world map for this book, right, of all the authors that you have asked to write a story for, you actually put my face on the US territory. Like, you consider me a fellow American. And
yes, of course.
And that means so much to me. Like, that's so nice.
Yes, you're here.
I'm right here in Washington. Like, listen, I came to America to marry Ewan McGregor and be a mother to his 4 children, but we got married in April. I guess I just have to work now. I don't know, my 4-year game plan just thrown out the window. I'm so mad. But yeah, thank you so much, Lucia, for inviting me to be a part of this anthology. And tell me, before we get into the nitty gritty of the questions that I know that my colleagues have prepared for you as well, how has this anthology changed your life?
Uh, this anthology, I will just tell you about your colleagues and everybody. What is this book about? It's a collection of short stories by 14
Right.
authors
Mm-hmm.
designed to uplift and put a smile on your face.
Mm-hmm.
And we had this very strict lockdown here in Spain. At least I was in Spain during
Mm-hmm.
when the pandemic started. And I'm sure everybody was really sad and worried about what to do. So the world changed a lot. So
Right.
by publishing this book and being able to connect with amazing people, amazing authors for many, like we had many meetings online, and the expectation were so good. Everybody wants to know each other better. So
Yeah.
this
I
book was
remember.
a way to gather different people from different countries, and
Mhm.
in the end they became friends, and this made me happier, that
Yeah.
I could like gather these people. And
Yeah.
yeah,
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 and I think that it's a huge part of your brand, to sort of align the social good with your personal achievements.
yeah.
So I guess let's get into the business, into the nitty gritty of why we're here, and I am going to ask you, why did you decide to become an indie author? Like, what advantages do you see in publishing independently? Obviously, you've had great successes, so there has to be something to that.
Yeah, like there are many reasons, but the most important one is that it is guaranteed you will publish your book.
Yeah.
And for me, this is what I just needed in that moment when I
Mhm,
decided to become an indie author.
mhm,
And using a publisher is a long process, because they first need to decide if they want to publish your book.
mhm.
And you also need to send your work to as many publishers as possible,
Right.
waiting for months, and still there is no guarantee that
Mhm.
you actually will get published.
Yeah.
So becoming a self-published author was a sure way of getting my book out there. So this
Right.
is one of the most important reasons, but also, in my opinion, the greatest advantage is that you have total control over your book.
Mhm.
You, let's say, how can I say this? You have full ownership of rights and royalties of
Right. Right.
others.
You don't have to share,
You
basically.
don't have
There
to
is
share.
no Yeah, there is no royalty cut that you agree upon with your publisher. So that one you see as the biggest advantage.
Yes, and
Right.
also, I'm sorry, just I want to cite
No, of
something.
course.
There are no gatekeepers telling you what you can and you cannot do.
I think that's a really good word, Kyra. I feel like you are itching to just get something out of your system.
Oh,
So go ahead.
that right there resonates so much. I mean, it's because of gatekeepers that less than 11% of authors are people of color, particularly in fiction works. I just, I just, so the fact that you said that, the fact that indie publishing gives people the right to share their stories on their own terms and have complete ownership over the creative direction, that's I really appreciate hearing that. I know that we all do. But I think a huge part of the reason why people feel like they have to adhere to the traditional publishing path is because of audiences. It's because they're like, well, if I'm the one who has to if I'm the one who publishes this book, I don't have access to the networks that will make it successful in the way that traditional publishers do. And we know that you have a podcast, and that,
Yes.
in a way, has played a huge role in aligning your book to your desired audience. So, how does your podcast play a role play into your book audience interface? Like, how has that helped you in your indie author development?
In reality, I don't promote my books on my podcast because each episode I'm interviewing a guest. So it feels like awkward to promote my books instead of theirs. But what I will say is that for me, in reality, because of I don't promote my books there, I cannot give you an answer like that. I'm sure. I cannot affirm that it helped me, but what I will say is that authors can benefit greatly from being interviewed on podcasts like The Relatable Voice, because it's a good way for listeners to get to know how what new books, new authors, and I have to tell you something. I'm better at promoting other people than myself, which is
Yeah,
what
it's
led
all
me
yeah,
to
it's
start
all you. Yeah,
my yeah
I know. It's
yeah.
totally
So I ended up starting my own company that's the Relatable Media, and also having a podcast is a lot of work, which takes me up a lot of time and doesn't allow me to write as much as I would like to. But if I were an author going to a podcast to promote my books, I could tell you helps because
right.
some of them write me and say, Lucia, I had many people like accessing my website way more than before being interviewed by you or another podcast, but for me exactly, I don't know, and I'm not going to many podcasts because I'm so busy, but I want to start like having being interviewed, so I will be able to give you.
You don't need it, like honestly. You don't need the hassle, is my personal opinion. But oh yeah, absolutely. I think that being interviewed, like, and speaking personally on a podcast can significantly help you in
Yeah.
increasing sales for sure.
Yes, and also that exposure is really important nowadays. And on my
Online, you mean digital exposure.
yes, and you were saying, for example, I featured you on our magazine. So
You did.
also, yeah, the Relatable Voice has its own magazines. So we uh, we feature some authors. We publish their guest posts. So this is something that really helps other other authors.
Right. Well, I'm gonna take Mackenzie. I'm gonna let Mackenzie take the stage. I know that she has a question for you as well.
Yeah,
So go ahead.
I'd love to pile on here and add that digital presence is absolutely, just like you were saying, essential, especially for us indie authors because we're doing everything ourselves. And so we rely on these networks of other indie authors and other media outlets that are perhaps maybe non traditional. Because traditional publishers, I'm going to use that word a lot, are the ones with all the contacts and they do the publicity for you, which theoretically is the emphasis there. But
Yeah.
like most authors, we're out here on our own trying to get as much reach as possible. And for you, Lucia, you have international reach, and that is another one of the benefits of this digital age that we're living in with the internet and everything. And so, my question for you is, what do you think? And this is kind of fun because something I've noticed in my travels is that all of the book covers for international authors are different in different countries, which is really fun. But for you, what do you think is the biggest difference between your readers in Spain and your readers in the US?
I I personally don't think that there is difference between readers in Spain and readers in the US because my targeted audience are children.
Hmm.
And at the end, um, at the end of the day, kids are kids no matter where they come from. But what I've noticed that I sell more ebooks in the US than in Spain. And I don't know. I'm not sure if it's because the e-readers are more used in North America than in Europe, or if there is a preference for printed books. But that's really the only difference I've noticed. So maybe ebooks are sold more frequently in the US than in Spain, in my case.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, Mackenzie, like, feel free to follow up before I follow up with a question if you do have another question.
No, I think actually this is a great segue into Emily's question.
Yeah, that's very true. Emily, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm always super fascinated and interested in like what inspires different authors to sort of start with the genre that they decide to go ahead and start with. So what for you, why do you feel like you're inspired to write children's books and like what specifically like do you enjoy about writing that genre?
I'm a physical therapist, and I usually treated kids with cerebral palsy or children with autism. So I used to be in contact with them, and I always say that children are my passion. So as I was saying, I worked as a physical therapist for many years, and my patients inspired me to write these stories. So I used to create and write like some stories and to entertain my patients. And these little stories was like at the end of their treatment, I draw them a little illustration and include a little story for them. So every month they received a little book. And they were so happy by the end of the month because they were even more excited to be treated because they knew that they were they were going to get a book of stories. So that's why I was inspired by my patients, and I enjoy that it also allows me to be a kid again. Like I have to think like a kid. But I'm trying to change a little bit. I'm going to publish a book for young adults, my next book.
Oh.
Yes. But it's still I'm so what I just love also hearing from kids directly and having them sharing their thoughts. They are so sincere. Sometimes they say, Lucia, I didn't like that Zoe lost her claw. And then I explain and I try to explain, like, no, she's going to be better. So, but
Oh,
at
you
the
have a lot of interaction with kids, you mean? Like they
Yeah.
ask you questions and stuff.
they do, and this is the most important part for me.
Mhm.
It's their feedback.
Oh my God. Yeah, yeah, I love that. And I was gonna ask you a follow-up question about, obviously you are known for the Zoe the Crab series, but like,
Mhm.
are you working on another novel? But I guess you already kind of answered that, and it's gonna be a young adult. Like, could you tell us about the concept?
Um, I cannot give much away, but it's a book.
Damn it.
Okay, so it's a book like that is written, um, as I said, for young adults.
Mhm.
There is a city, and this city is a city in Italy. There is no much to do. There are only few people living there, and
Mhm.
during lockdown, many people went to live there because
Yeah.
they didn't need to go to work. Yeah, they were working from home, and
Mm.
they went there to live, and then the pandemic. Like kind of finished, yeah, finished. We started having,
It's been announced that it's over. Let's say that. We just say that there was an announcement.
So everybody got vaccinated and they left. So this city with like 200 people were empty again, and they were bankrupt because there were not many people like to go to the supermarket. So the mayor, she decided that they need to do something to change this situation. They need to attract people to the
Okay.
city.
Right.
So
And that's
and
sort of like it goes from there. That's the plot,
yeah,
right?
that's the plot.
Okay.
But
When can we expect the book? You at least tell us that.
yeah,
When?
sorry.
When can we
Yeah,
expect the book? Yeah,
in
when?
December, hopefully in
Okay.
Wow.
Okay, that's a good one. I mean, I'm definitely we will be looking out for that. Well, Lucia, again, thank you for being here. We know you're busy, so we won't keep you long. My dear colleagues, do you have any other final questions for Lucia before we let her go?
No, it's been a pleasure having you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, perfect. If you want to connect with sorry, there's a bit of a lag. Is someone saying something?
I
No,
just
I'm
think
just
learned so
telling.
much.
Okay, yeah, perfect. So, you guys, if you want to connect with Lucia, we will link everything in the description down below after the live stream is over. So you can purchase her books or email her or just talk to her about her. Yes, obviously. that, that one for sure. And yeah, thank you so much again, Lucia. Bye bye.
Thank you very much.
All right, folks. Well, that was nice. It
She's so
was.
sweet.
She is so sweet. Absolutely. I consider her a friend for sure. It was my absolute pleasure to host her, and her insight is very much appreciated. And I hope that her experience has somewhat convinced you guys to give independent authors and presses and independent authorship and presses, I should say, a chance now. Um, right. So, any other comments before we proceed? Confessions? No. All
As
right.
Kira would say, I agree with all aforementioned statements.
Yes. Kyra, your catchphrase is too good. I would say
Thank you. I try my best.
it's too good, and you should patent it before anybody takes a hold of it.
You know, I've thought about it. Not gonna lie, like not actually, because I don't want to be one of those people that's like, my intellectual property. But like I've thought about putting it on a shirt, or when I'm
You should.
You should.
when I'm inevitably a professor at a university, I just imagine like my students making fun of me behind my back, like, and
No.
Professor Dawkins always goes, "I concur." I don't know. Yeah, I'm looking forward. That's what I want.
Kyra merch.
Listen, I would buy the merch the
Honestly.
second it comes out. It's the
Aw,
second. Because it says, you know what I mean? Like, I think it would prevent a lot of unnecessary fighting when you're just basically wearing this statement. Like, I concur with all the affirmation statements. You just, you just pull the t-shirt up, and you'll be like, all arguments avoided.
I'm in tears.
Unless you disagree, then that's when you have to say it out loud.
I disagree. you should do both. Like, I agree and I disagree with all the affirmation statements.
The front and the back.
Around. I'm in
I
tears.
love that. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. Well,
Anyway.
anyway, the segue. So, the core and the reason why we're here. It's Preptober, so we are here to get the actual work done. I am watching the clock. So, 10 minutes on the clock to get the first however many words. My goal is at least 300 done. And once the 10 minutes have passed, all of us here will read the oh my God, words are hard. The unadulterated garbage that we wrote for all to hear. And
Oh, we love that.
yeah, and you guys watching.
Me.
Oh my God. All of you guys watching, please don't leave us hanging and drop the first 300 word garbage first draft in the comment section. We would love to read it and talk about it. And all right, let's go. Well, not yet. Here. All right, everybody. Hands up, pens up. God. All right. So, Jesus, I'm scared. So, who wants to go first? That's what I'm gonna ask. Who wants to go first? Okay, perfect. Ira, thank you for volunteering. Go ahead. What are you working on? And read us the excerpt.
I am working on the next episode of my serial First Person Archer. This is a little outside of my comfort zone, so here goes nothing.
Let's hear it.
As I emerge from the pond's tepid waters, the late morning air stirs and sends a chill down my spine. My lungs feel heavy and my throat is tight. Rage, pure rage. It only intensifies as I see the fear welling in Iris's eyes. I glare at her sword-wielding captor. So this must be what a lion feels right before they pounce on their prey, or more likely, their enemy. What do you want from us? I growl in common tongue. The sword wielder presses the blade tip between Iris's breasts again. She winces. I locate my arrows in my peripheral vision. What do you want? I spit again. The captor traces my body with his gaze, lingering on grooves, his eyes narrowing to serpentine slits. Oh my, he retorts. Aren't you a fine specimen of a flesh one? Oh, sweat. I'm butt naked.
Oh my! Wow.
Girl.
What genre is that? Is that fantasy?
It's dystopian fiction. It's like dystopian, kind of like The We and the They. So it's,
Okay, gotcha. All
Why
right.
is
Oh, sweat.
Post sweat, yeah.
Oh, sweat.
I guess Emily is the most qualified out of all of us to give comments on speculative fiction, I would say. Why don't you go first, Emily? What do you think?
I thought it was beautiful. It was very gripping. Like even
Mm.
just from those, it's probably what, like 250 words.
Mm.
Like I was there watching it all happen. I didn't
Agreed.
need like any context.
Yeah, completely agreed. And I think the other thing for me was I was feeling just as confused as the perspective of the character. Like I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
What is going on? And then I realized, oh, that's the exact same thing the characters feel like. Got it. Cool.
Yes, very gripping. I would agree. All right, we have time for one more excerpt. So, who wants to volunteer? Who wants to read what they wrote?
I mean, I can unless you want to, Mackenzie.
Go for it.
Go for it, Emily.
Okay. The woman you saw, Colt said, rolling a pen on the table in thought, sounds like it could be my great-grandmother. Adelaide racked her brain for the mention of her, but couldn't recall hearing Xander or Colt talk about her before. What do you know about her? Colt shook his head. Not much, but she was a field asset for the Red Rose Society, sort of like the Gideon of her time. She traveled the world on different missions for them. Eventually, she married my great-grandfather and had my grandmother a bit later in life. She died the summer Xander came to Scotland. The same summer, he had left her and she'd lost her parents. Though she didn't say it out loud, she could tell they were all thinking it. She chose to ignore the sympathy on their faces and to pretend the remembrance of her parents' deaths hadn't just clenched an invisible fist around her heart. Grief was just as fickle as the people it affected, not to mention the ones who tried to console the grieving by walking on eggshells around them or offering platitudes that never quite had the impact they hoped they would. What words would ever be enough to replace the loss of a life? What did she die of? Adelaide asked, hoping they hadn't noticed the thickness in her voice. She was nearly 100, so I'm guessing old age, Colt said. Why does that matter? I don't know, Adelaide said with a sigh. Maybe it was the key to understanding why they were in Asheville, or maybe... And that's not me being dramatic, that's just us far.
Oh my god, and this is a huge spoiler for me because I know all these characters. Like I'm in the middle of reading Emily's first book, so I guess this is a huge spoiler for me.
No,
But,
not really.
Yes,
I mean, you know her parents are dead. That's
I
what
mean,
I'll
I loved it. I love how you tie history with the background of the characters. I love that you mentioned Scotland and how that interfaces with their destinies, because I'm reading your book. So anyway, yeah, I mean, you know that I'm a huge fan of your writing, so I love it. Any other feedback before we jump into the second writing sprint?
Just so somber, so contemplative.
Mm,
Just, I enjoyed it thoroughly. And
yeah, it's very sad. Yeah, for sure. All right, folks. Second writing sprint, 10 more minutes. And yeah, let's get into it. All right. 10 minutes have passed. Let's see what we got. Mackenzie, do you want to go first or shall I?
You're telling me 10 minutes have passed? That one went by so much faster.
It usually
No.
it do be like that sometimes.
Bro. Oh, Lordy. Okay, well, so here's the thing. I'm currently working on the plot twist. So I feel as though it would be unfair to read it out loud. So instead, I'm going to read you the beginning of the chapter that I'm currently
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Yeah. Okay. I'm listening.
very much draft. It is not it still might be kind of embarrassing, but
Read the banner, Mackenzie. We know it's garbage. I'm kidding.
All right.
I'm kidding. Go ahead.
All right. Okay. Waking up felt like the morning after an all-night rager. The night before was a bit of a blur. My head ached. I felt massively dehydrated. I heard a tick and then a low hum that sounded an awful lot like fluorescent light bulbs. Then it was just so bright, the kind of bright that makes your eyelids red and sting. My eyes blinked open. I felt cold, concrete floor pressed against my cheeks and hands. I pressed myself up, and for a moment I felt a rush of panic. The kind you feel when you stay over at someone else's house for the first time as a kid and you don't wake up in your own bed. And then an equally powerful feeling of relief when you realize where you are. I was back.
Oh wow. I love that. Wait, is that from the Artifact Hunter?
Yes.
Oh, I love that. I can't wait. All right. And what is the plot twist? Now I want to know.
I know. I love like the modern comparisons because everyone knows like those two feelings of like waking up after like partying a little too hard or like waking up at a friend's house when you're young and you're like, oh wait, like this isn't my bed. This is not my house. Like I feel like those are so like
I feel called out. I feel called out. That's what I feel like.
I also
but like even though they're universal, I think you just like the description that you accompany with them like is sort of like the cherry on top. Like it further just like really makes you feel like you're there.
Mm-hmm. And I will just say that I'm a big fan of Odessa's voice. Like like I could tell how she talks based off of like you know that she's that girl. That's how that
a very distinctive first point of view writing, which is really very much appreciated. So yeah, all right. Thank you so much, Mackenzie. Well, I guess I'm the last one to go. I don't want to disappoint. Get out of it. Get out scot-free. So I am working actually on a very particular submission to a certain literary magazine. So it's like a short story that they've asked me to do. So let's hear it. Before I knew how to run, how to swim, how to dress, and tell the good from the bad, I learned how to take care of the gardens. Most girls and their Nivea nurtured palms had nothing on my dirt Christian hands. I was christened all right, first by the Catholic Church at the Cathedral of St. Patrick, 10 miles south of Provence, where I grew up. Then I was christened by my grandfather's unforgiving gardens. You need to learn the value of hard work, he used to say to me. Of course, he knew a lot about hard work. Saint Marie was a small village near the Nazi-obliterated town. The land was stained with blood, and my grandfather never made a difference between who was manly enough, adult enough, or tough enough to hear what he had seen. He was progressive, you could say. We have to pass the story down, otherwise history will repeat itself, he used to say to me. As soon as I learned how to walk, I took care of the blood-soaked soil that would spur all the treasures necessary for a family to survive winters and enjoy summers. You work, you reap the benefits, he used to say to me. I think I hated him my whole childhood. I learned how to harvest pear trees. The lesson of misfortune that happened on this soil was carved into me and forever transformed my innocence. Why don't we leave? I would often ask him. Because we know how to withstand a storm. It doesn't matter whether it's a storm of bullets or a storm of nature. We endure.
Ooh, chill. I got chills.
Gosh. I'm a big fan of like just the like earthy themes, right? Like not only do you have the like literally you're tilling the earth, right? But these like deep feelings of family ties, roots, history. it all just it goes together very nicely.
Oh, thank you.
It's also very direct and no nonsense. Like something
Yes.
about like it
Yeah.
being, like, to Mackenzie's point, very down to earth in the language, because there are lots of different ways where you could have described it in a way that felt detached, but because it felt grounded, which reinforced the imagery, that was very
It's
powerful.
giving Grapes of Wrath.
Yeah.
Ooh. Oh, no, that is a compliment I cannot take. That is too much, but thank you. No, oh my God. Well, I have enjoyed this live stream immensely. That is all we have for you tonight, folks. Follow us on social media. Those will be linked in the description below. If you have a book that has bottom line of 50K words ready, please consider submitting the first 20 pages for consideration in the form that is currently linked in the chat, and will be and description as well. And any final words of wisdom from you guys?
Keep writing.
Keep
Yeah.
writing. Woo!
Keep writing. All right. And we'll see you next week. Thank you so much for tuning in.